Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be putting the Duelist for Marvel Rivals on the tier list that I made in the last video that I did for the Vanguards, and I do also plan on doing that for the Strategist in my next video. So if you want to see that, leave a like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's cue that intro. Alright guys, before we begin, I just want to point out that the Captain America tier is gone. I changed it to not ideal, only because he's probably going to be joined by one or two heroes on this list, so we'll get to that, but just wanted to point that out. Alright guys, so first up we got Black Panther, aka the Tickle Monster. I'm going to put him in the middle of okay because people now are really starting to figure out how to use him, and people who know what they're doing with him might be the most annoying people to deal with in the backline. I play Strategist the majority of my ranked games. I like Cloak and Dagger a lot. He is a mission to deal with. This guy is flipping back and forth, doing 180 turns, throwing his spears, getting another dash when he throws a spear, mixing his ult in there. This guy does so much freaking damage in the backline. But then there's some times where you're going against a Panther and it feels like he's just touching you like that. Like, not doing a lot. So it's hard to put him in the higher tiers because there's such a high skill gap with him. People really need to know what they're doing in order to be using him correctly. So I'm going to stick him in the middle of okay because I've dealt with some really good ones and some really bad ones. Alright, so next up is Black Widow. And for me, I unfortunately do have to put her in not ideal, but I don't think she's as bad as people think. She is a typical sniper. She does decent damage with her sniper, and her ultimate can stun enemies within a certain radius. And she has decent escapability with her kicks and her baton, but let's be honest here. If you're sending a Venom after her or an Iron Fist, you're going to be able to kill her. And it could be a pretty easy pick sometimes. I don't see a lot of Black Widow players, so I don't really see people trying to figure out how to use her correctly. But that's unfortunately why she's a not ideal. Not bad, but just not ideal. Alright guys, next up we got Moon Knight. And he's going to go right in between Magneto and Thor for me in the good tier. Now, in lower elos, this guy shreds. He's getting like 35k damage a game. His ult buff is insane now, and he's able to get more picks with it. You know, the unks. You know about the unks. I don't have to tell you that. But in the higher elos, this guy, he gets countered a lot more easily. The unks are always destroyed. If you send a good dive tank after him, he's pretty easy to deal with. His escapability is pretty good. He has the hook, and he has the double jump. But if you're like really chasing him, you'll be able to get rid of him pretty easily. That being said, though, I play with a pretty good Moon Knight when I play ranked, and this guy still does really good numbers. So right now, I'm going to leave him in the good tier. I'm open to changing him, though. Alright, next up is Iron Fist, and him, for me, he's going to go in the okay tier in between Black Panther and Venom. Now, when this game came out, he was destroying everyone. He was taking out the backline. He was taking out the flying characters. Hell, he was even taking out the tanks. He could almost fly with his triple jump. His ultimate, I feel like he's impossible to kill and get away from unless the whole team is helping you out. He could heal himself outside of a fight. He can literally just run away, heal, and go back into the fight. And that is insane. But he is probably the easiest to counter out of some of these dive characters. I guess not as easy to counter as Black Panther, because Black Panther just doesn't do a lot anyway. But like a Namor or a Scarlet Witch, even someone who can just get constant damage on him, you're going to be able to kill him like that. So that's why I have him in the okay tier. Better than Black Panther for now, but we'll see where that goes. Alright, so next up is Scarlet Witch. And for me, she's going to go on the top of mid tier. I don't think she's as mid, I guess, as people say she is, but she's still pretty mid at the end of the day. She's very simple. She does do a decent amount of damage if you know what you're doing with her. Like, she's good against some of these dive characters because you're just constantly doing damage while just looking at them. You don't have a reload. You could stun them with your bubble, and you could just throw your bombs at them. So there's a lot with her that's good, but she just doesn't take a lot of skill to use, you know. And honestly, I'm not really scared of a Scarlet Witch whenever I go against her. Her ult used to be insane. If you heard her ult, you would have to run away. Now it's like, you know, just shimmy a little to the left behind that tree and you'll be okay. So mid tier for me is probably the best spot for her right now. Up next is Namor, and he right now, in my opinion, is pretty meta. Now, let me tell you, this guy, I didn't like him in the beginning of the game. I thought he was kind of trash, honestly, until I remembered that there are no trash characters in this game. But I hopped on him in a ranked game just because we needed some defense, and I shredded with Namor. Now, this guy, you have to be able to land your octopuses up. He got a buff where he doesn't throw like a 2-year-old anymore, and he can actually get those things up high. And if you team him up with a Luna Snow, he gets an extra one. So you could have 3 at the same time doing damage to a healer or to tanks, and he could shred any of those. If you're landing your alternate click, the octopuses do a charge attack, and they don't miss at all. So that's all that matters about him. If you're able to get your octopuses up in high places, keep constant damage, and land headshots, bro, you're wiping the whole team. And he has the ability where he goes into a bubble, and he basically escapes all pressure. Now, you don't move that fast, and you can get chased, but you can save a lot of time for your healers to get back and heal you. So, right now, I think he belongs in that meta tier. Okay, so after Namor, we got Spider-Man. And Spider-Man, for me, is going to go... do I put him behind or front? I'm going to put him here, behind Moon Knight. Now, the thing with Spider-Man is he probably has the highest skill ceiling in the game, right? You have to be able to swing, know when to dive in. You don't have a lot of health, so you have to be able to plan out your attacks perfectly. And when you're going against a good Spider-Man, they are impossible to kill. They are constantly pressuring your healers, and they do massive amounts of damage. And their ult is really, really good. The thing is, he could be meta, but just not a lot of people know how to use them to his full potential. I've played against some really good Spider-Man, and then I've played against the ones that are like 7 and 15 at the end of the ranked games and complaining about healing when they're across the freaking map and they can't get touched, you know? So I think good is a good spot for Spider-Man. He does a lot. It's just that people need to, I guess, learn how to play it better. Up next is Hela. And you know where Hela's going to go. I'm not even going to waste my time with her. This is probably the best pick at the moment. There's still more to come. But right now, she's the most meta pick out of the people on the screen at the moment. Where do I start with Hela? She has hit scan. So if you're under her cursor when she presses fire, you're going to take damage. If you're able to hit your headshots, she can wipe anyone out within 2 or 3 shots, right? She has her crow, which is great for getting away from the enemy team. She has her orb that sucks you in a little bit, not by a lot. She has she can throw multiple spears at once that explode after a certain delay. Her ult is really, really good unless you have a Doctor Strange on your team. If you have a Doctor Strange on your team, you're able to counter that thing like that. But no, right now she does so much damage. There's a reason why you never see her in the high elos, and it's because she's banned every single time. It's because of how great she is at dealing damage and getting away and coming right back and doing it again. So, enough glazing. Meta tier for Hela. Okay, so next up is Hawkeye. And Hawkeye, for me, he's fallen off a bit, not because of how good he is. I still think he's really good, but I just don't see a lot of him anymore. He got hit with a nerf that honestly wasn't that bad. He still does a lot of damage with his headshots. He either gets a 1-shot kill or a 2-shot kill, depending on who you are. He has his shockwave arrow that does AoE damage. He has his sword that gets the diving characters away, and he can double jump. This kid is really good. But just for some reason, I'm not seeing a lot of him. I'm about to be diamond again, so maybe that's just a higher elo thing where maybe he's still getting banned. I don't know, but I'm just not seeing a lot of Hawkeye anymore. I think he's right on the cusp of meta. He could potentially move up in place of Hulk. We'll see what happens at the end of the video, but for right now, I'm gonna leave him in the good tier. Okay, so next up is Psylocke, and Psylocke for me is a tough one. I think I'm gonna put her under Thor. I think that's a good spot for her. She's a great dive character. I think her ult is really good. Like, you really don't have to do anything. You just pop it and just try to stay within as many enemies as possible, and you're going to do a bunch of damage. You can block it now, like as a Doctor Strange, or there's certain shields that do block it, but she goes invisible. She's really good at getting in the back line. She has her slash. I've dealt with some pretty good Psylocks, and I hate it. But I think Cloak and Dagger counter her pretty well. Maybe that's just a me thing, not trying to gloat. But there's a couple good counters to her. Like Namor is obviously one of them. I don't see her as much as a problem anymore as I used to, but I still think that she's in that good tier of dive character. So I'm gonna leave her there. Next up is the Punisher, and I might ruffle some feathers here, but I think he's gonna go right there, right in front of Magneto. Now let me tell you why. His kit is very simple, probably the simplest in the game, but it's a really, really good one. He has his rifle, he has his shotgun, which do very good headshot damage. His turret is really good if you know where to put it. He can get away with a smoke bomb, and he has his zip line where he's able to get to points really, really quick and set up his defenses. Now, he's good here. I would probably put him over everyone on the good tier if there's a rocket on your team, because with that infinite ammo buff, you are insane. And when you pop your ultimate, if you're really able to get around the group walls and some of these support ults, you're gonna kill a lot of people with it. He does a lot of damage. Sometimes Punisher is my sleeper pick when I need just to shut down a point or just try to get some easy kills, especially like on an Iron Man or a Storm, who are some of the best DPSs in the game. This guy shreds them down. And for me, that's the reason why I think he's a sleeper good pick. Okay, guys, so next up is Magic. And I think this is where I'm going to start making some changes on my board. So I'm going to put Magic right in between Moon Knight and Spider-Man right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these two, Psylocke and Thor, on the OK tier. Now, let me tell you why I have Magic in the good tier. She is good. She's pretty good. Her kit's really well made. She has her portals in which she won't get attacked for a second or 1.5 seconds. I don't know the exact time. In which, when she comes out of her portal, she can either do a slash ability in a circle, or she can drop a minion that'll attack you over a period of time. And she can do that twice. She can portal, slash, portal, minion, or slash, whatever you want to do. She also has her uppercut, slash, which, knocks you up. Pretty obvious there. And she can also shoot flying enemies or people in the air with her sword. It's an ability. You can only do it once after a cooldown. But it has good range. It does decent damage, but it's good to get the picks, And her ult is basically just making her kit more stronger. So she has the same abilities. They just do different things. And she gets a lot more health. She gets more tanky. It's okay. Not my favorite ult in the game, but it does its work when you know what you're doing with Magic. And if you know what you're doing with Magic, I think she's pretty good. Hence why she is in the good tier. Okay. Next up is Squirrel Girl. And Squirrel Girl, for me, has gone up a lot. She is honestly pretty close to being meta, but she was all the way down here, pretty mid at the beginning. So people are really starting to figure her out, so I'm going to stick her maybe right there, in between the Punisher and Magneto. Now, let me tell you, you don't need to be good at aiming with her, because obviously your shots bounce. You're shooting grenades, pretty much, the nuts. She could stun people, get them stuck for about maybe 2 seconds, and that gives you a lot of time to get the headshots that you need in order to get a kill, or just get the bombs to bounce the way you need them to go. Now, the main reason why she moved up so high is the ult buff that she got. Now, instead of her squirrels just bouncing around randomly, what they do now is that once they bounce off the first wall, they go straight after the closest enemy. And it does so much damage if they're in a tight room. Now, you can kill the squirrels. They did lower the health by half, I think. So it's a lot easier to kill them now. But, man, most of the time you're in a fight, you're not looking at the squirrels. You're trying to defend yourself from the people in front of you. So it's a really good way to get picks. She also has a reload ability where you can use either your long jump, which shoots you in the air, or your giant nut that stuns people again. So you can throw your giant nut and do it literally again. And she has a good kit. She does a lot of damage. A lot of people are starting to use her now. I think she's moving up. I think where she is right now is pretty good. But she has potential to move up a lot higher. Alright, next up is Iron Man. And he is another one of those guys that went from down here to being, at the moment, probably right here on the cusp of meta. Now, let me tell you. When there's a Hulk on your team and you have that gamma boost, he's meta. He is unstoppable. He is amazing. But on his own, he's still really good. He has his uni beam where you can melt tanks or melt anyone really if you're targeting them good enough. Your blasts are AoE, so you hit around them, you're gonna get some splash damage. You can fly away pretty easily. Your ult is really good. Assuming that you're not getting it blocked by a Doctor Strange or a Magneto, you're gonna be able to get at least 2 or 3 picks with it almost each time, depending on how good your aim is. He's good. He's kind of simple in a way, but no, really good, really good. All right, now we got Star-Lord. Star-Lord for me, I'm gonna put him right behind Magneto, right in front of Moon Knight. Now Star-Lord is really good at getting around, getting quick picks, and getting out. His ult is really, really good. It's auto lock. It's basically Soldier 76 from Overwatch, but in the sky. He's hard to hit if you know what you're doing with him. He has his dodges where you can't touch him at all, even if you're aiming at him while he's dodging. He has the Reaper ability, which you can just shoot around in a circle for like 3 seconds. His kit is pretty simple at the end of the day. You have to be able to stay mobile the whole time. If you're stuck behind everybody, you're not going to be as effective as a Star-Lord who is trotting the back line, getting a couple hits in, backing up, trying to get the healers to look away from their players, you know? And if you can get great picks on your ultimate, you're going to be able to be as legendary as he is. So he's good in the good tier, right behind Magneto. Up next is Winter Soldier, a.k.a. Again! And I'm probably going to put him right in between Groot and Punisher. Yeah. He's really good. He only gets 3 shots on his pistol, but it's all you need. He can bring you in with his arm, kind of like a grapple, and uppercut you. It's a great combo. He can also stun you and flying characters with his arm as well. But you know why he's up here. It's his ultimate. His ultimate's one of the best in the game, not including the support ults. He's probably top 3. How it works is you go in the air, you come down to the ground, and if you kill someone or kill them right after with your pistol, you get it again. And you can go again and again and again. I've seen people get 5 kills, 7 kills, even 9 kills with this ultimate. So he is very good wherever you play him. He does a lot of damage, gets a lot of kills. So, that's what you want out of your DPS. So I'm going to put him in the good tier. Now it's Wolverine. And Wolverine, for me, he made the biggest jump out of anyone, right? He was at the bottom. No one liked to play Wolverine. No one knew how to use him. And now, just like he does in the game, he's going to fly over to the meta tier. He's going to go right in front of Hulk. I probably stick him behind Namor, yeah. This guy destroys tanks, and he is impossible to kill if you know what you're doing with him. And you can even combine with Hulk, and he can literally throw Wolverine at anyone in the map, assuming you're able to hit him. But this guy's amazing. He jumps, he basically flies, honestly, at anyone. And when you grab him mid-flight, you're slashing them. And how he works is you build up your attacks, and then once you hit to 100, you're constantly just moving your arms back and forth, back and forth. He almost goes Super Saiyan. Like, he's just going crazy. And he could heal himself, or I guess give himself shield while he's in the middle of a fight. So you're basically flying in there, slashing people up, shielding, and then just coming out. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And his ult is also really good. If you dive in there, you're able to suck up like maybe 3 people with your ult and bring them down and get quick kills. He's amazing. I personally haven't mastered him yet, but I've seen people really start to get the hang of him, and it's scary. I usually play Groot when I play tank. I hate seeing a Wolverine on the other team. So right now I have him in the meta. Okay, so next up is the newest DPS in the game, Mr. Fantastic. And for right now, I think I'm going to put him in okay, at the top of okay. Now, I think he does a lot of things well, but he plays more like a tank than a DPS. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same exact thing. His whole thing is building up elasticity, right? Which is you use your abilities to get your number up to 100, and when it's up to 100, you get big, and you're basically a mini Hulk ult. You're going in there and you're just messing things up. You get around 6 seconds of big Mr. Fantastic, But his other abilities are pretty good. He has a shield ability in which he basically stands up straight and absorbs all damage that comes his way, even ultimates, and he shoots it back, which does a lot of damage if you're able to suck up, a lot of damage. He could shield himself and allies by jumping on them, or he could shield himself and do damage to enemies by jumping on them. He literally just grabs you and he jumps on you like that. He can also grab enemies with his arms and yank them back towards you, or you can grab two enemies and smack them together. So, and he has decent range with his punches too. He throws punches, you don't have to reload. I think that's pretty good. He has a good kit. More people are gonna figure out how to play him. So right now I have him in the top of OK tier, and yeah, I think that's a good spot for him. And last but not least, we have Storm. And Storm was also on a bit of a roller coaster. She started in the betas pretty good, and then when the game came out in December, she was pretty bad. And now she's all the way back up at the top, and I would argue that she belongs there. She does a lot of good damage, and if you have an enemy Storm who knows what they're doing, you're cooked. Like, she's really good. Now she has two modes. She has her tornado mode and her thunder mode. So when she's in tornado mode and she's flying up and down, if you're under her, you get a movement speed boost. And if she's in thunder mode and you're around her while she's flying, you'll get a damage boost. And she can also amplify those and raising them even more. When she's in thunder mode and she amplifies it, lightning will literally come down and hit enemies when they're near you, no matter what. She can also get a team up with Thor that gives her a chain lightning attack, which is pretty good. But her ult, oh my god, her ult is amazing. So basically, she goes invisible, kind of like how Jeff does, and she turns herself into a tornado around wherever you want to put her, and she's just constantly doing damage and bringing people in closer to her while she's in her ultimate. And what's great about that is that she does so much damage that she can get her ult again and again and again. She's one of those where you can get your ult twice in a very long team fight, and it can be super annoying to deal with. So right now, I think Storm belongs in that meta tier. Alright guys, that's going to do it. I hope you like the list. If there's some things you disagree on, let me know in the comments. I want to hear it. I'm going to start filming the strategist video, and it should be out to you guys very soon. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.